Let's put things in layman's terms. Things have gotten pretty bonkers on the free agency front. So off the wall that I've had to make this into an ultimate guide instead of a sports ball. Might be for the best. While things may be unpredictable on the football front, there's one thing I know is very stable. And that's SeatGeek, the sponsor of this video. Made you watch for a second. But seriously, I've been using them for a long time, even before they started sponsoring me. They're straightforward to use. The app sorts all tickets available in the resale market on a 1 to 10 scale. Easier way to describe it, the greener the color, the better the deal. You can get a sneak peek from where you'll be sitting, and all tickets are verified for authenticity. Remember the golden rule, use the code TREE to save $20 off your first purchase. With SeatGeek, anything's possible. Well, to an extent. Free agency does the rest for us. The purge begins. As the kick goes wide right, the bill-do went right through the uprights. $40 million over the cap unfortunately proves, despite the riches of the NFL, the salary cap somehow isn't a social construct. An endless wave of fan favorites, cornerstones, and role players forced off the team to become compliant. They managed to restructure Von Miller and save him, but his signing has been more than regrettable. For a litany of reasons. The Bills did scrounge up what they could to make a few moves, though. Deion Dawkins engaged in some social media tomfoolery, but he's back in a key re-signing. Daquan Jones and AJ Epinesa are back on short-term deals. But the big catch is made with Curtis Samuel. He's their Gabriel Davis replacement. And he should do some damn good work teaming up with Josh Allen. Mitch Trubisky. Fitz kissing titties for long stretches, good God, they are screwed. Oh, Miami, you're laughing at Buffalo? It's funny, the same fate cursing the Bills is what's happening to you. The Dolphins need to write a cashier's check to extend to a long term. If they feel like it. As they negotiate for every last dollar, a bunch of pieces for the defense and offensive line have been freed from their shackles to roam the NFL landscape. Pretty much the entirety of their defense. That includes Christian Wilkins. Good luck trying to replace his abilities in the interior. Forced into a defensive overhaul is definitely something, especially considering their two leading edges suffered major injury last season. In the meantime, have these veterans for the effort. Shaq Barrett, Jordan Brooks, Kendall Fuller, and Jordan Poyer. Aaron Brewer's also here from Tennessee as their new starting center. There's a lot of work to be done, but their salvation is coming. And it's in the form of Jonnu Smith. Somewhere Arthur Smith is suffering phantom pain over his loss. An era has ended in New England. One of the franchise greats has been told to pack his bags and fuck off elsewhere. A legend gone too soon. Mac Jones. Officially ruined by ineptitude and incompetence from both himself and the team. Sentenced to life as a glorified golf caddy in Jacksonville for a 6th rounder. It also leads to the homecoming of Jacoby Brissett as a backup to the new future, who hopefully won't be destroyed by the Patricia virus like Mac. There will be new weapons in Antonio Gibson and KJ Osborne added to complement Ramondre and the fallen Juju. Hunter Henry and Kendrick Bourne are back as well. Mike Onwenu's the big coup secured for the offensive line. A key cog brought back for a big deal and possibly bigger role. Josh Uche and Fernie Jennings are back for the defense too. Same as welcoming Sione Takitaki and his alliterative name into the fold. It's going to be an actual rebuild, but they're at least trying to insulate their new QB with support. Now if it actually works, different story. The New York Jets are still trying. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing considering last season's disaster. Would anyone like Zach Wilson for a Kit Kat bar? Too expensive? Is it the fact that ownership said they didn't have a backup QB last year? Good news, you have one now in Tyrod Taylor. Until he suffers another fluke injury like always. John Simpson and Javon Kinlaw signed to fill roles on the team, Kinlaw reuniting with Salah. The real acquisitions of note are gambles. The Achilles heel of left tackle fortified with the elite play of Tyron Smith, and the receiving core gifted a dynamic passing threat in Mike Williams. They'll be incredible assets to the Jets, if they can stay healthy. Considering they're playing on a literal field of death, I doubt this will be the case. And Tyron and Mike have spotty medical histories. We all know the key is in Aaron Rodgers. And it doesn't matter who they sign, if he isn't back to peak form, they're done. Maybe he's interested in other pursuits like politics. Now that's an arc I'd like to see. So the Ravens are in a frustrating circle of hell. Keep falling into the same traps that prevent them from achieving greatness no matter how loaded and stocked. May be forced to lose significant depth and talent due to cap constraints. They might have been able to extend Justin Madubuike long term, but that hunger still remains. Baltimore needs power. and only one decree shall sound throughout the bay. Make way for the king! Like peanut butter and jelly, a match made in heaven itself. Derrick Henry signed us the power back for an age of wonders. May he send many AFC North defenders to the spirit realm and beyond in his time here. The question is, how much gas does he have left in the tank? Were struggles in parts of last year his decline, or merely the part of a terrible offensive line in front of him? If he doesn't work out, the Ravens breed running backs like rabbits. Even if Baltimore's lost a lot of pieces, they'll still be competitive. They always will be with that defense in Lamar. Cincinnati is in transition. Not necessarily due to their disappointing season, but cap issues and a desire to refortify certain positions on the team. Many key skill position players and trench pieces have left the franchise. Brown killer Joe Mixon and Raven killer Tyler Boyd are gone. T. Higgins is most likely next. He's franchise tag, but the Bengals don't necessarily have the space to pay him what he wants. No bias, you should totally send him to Pittsburgh, please, and thank you. Don't worry, Zach Moss is gonna gash Pittsburgh as your new running back. It's a solid replacement for an aging Mixon. Mike Gesicki is a revival project at tight end. Trent Brown is your future New England Patriots signing after he somehow flops here. Sheldon Rankins and his flashes of brilliance to replace DJ Reader. The reunion of old with Von Bell after being told to go away from Carolina, a huge addition to their secondary. Not to mention Geno still poached from Baltimore as well. It's a reloading year. They only missed the playoffs because of a Burrow injury. If he stays healthy, they'll be in good shape. There wasn't all that much for the Browns to do this offseason, mainly due to the money they have locked up in their key performers, and the deal that will make or break them for a generation. I'm talking about Joe Flacco, of course. The man that near single-handedly carried Cleveland to a playoff appearance after everything went to hell has been given a commemorative watch and free to go wherever he pleases. Renewed and given powers beyond the checkdown, the Browns mourn this loss. I know what'll solve this. Famous Jameis and Tyler Huntley. 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks in one room. Plus extending Zadarius Smith and Shelby Harris, and hiring Mike Vrabel as a consultant. Jordan Hicks and Quentin Jefferson as ads for the defense work too. Not to mention a new weapon for Deshaun to utilize in Jerry Jeudy. A Philo candidate who could live up to his potential in a new location. No, you weren't supposed to pay Jeudy, you idiots! Did you not see how maddeningly frustrating it was in Denver? So this is an interesting turn of events. Instead of sitting on their laurels and being content with things as I had feared, the Steelers are being aggressive in patching holes. The malcontents are being shipped off with haste. Deontay Johnson, your actions are borderline cancerous, get the fuck out. Kenny Pickett, your hands aren't anywhere close to the size of your ego, get the fuck out. Okorafor's been lying in a ditch for 6 months, and Trubisky is just trash. Volunteers, not hostages. Although with how Patrick Queen's being paid, he's far from a volunteer. The Steelers actually paid a premium free agent? He'll be a massive upgrade at the position, as long as he wasn't completely carried by Roquan. Fuck it, Baltimore got a king, but we hail to the queen. Hail to Deshaun Elliott and Dante Jackson as secondary help. Cordero Patterson, the new kick returner for a new age. And hail to the new quarterback tandem in the bird. We ride or smelt or forge or whatever with Russell Wilson. Paid mostly on Denver's dime. We also ride with Justin Fields. Kenny replacement acquired for pretty much nothing and should prove useful in this endeavor. They're just picking up everyone I shit on to fuck with me, and I respect it. What the hell is wrong with me? So you're an upstart franchise that's found unexpected success. You found yourself a franchise quarterback immediately after hitting rock bottom as a franchise. Sometimes hitting that floor helps you to an epiphany. There is much to do to make Houston a true contender, but it shows that the time has come to add, particularly for the defense. They need to rip a pound of flesh out of their rivals. Danico Autry and Aziz Al-Shaair bribed to move south from Tennessee. Jonathan Grenard had a breakout season, but he's not transcendent. You know who is? Daniil Hunter. He's Grenard on hypothetical steroids. With a near fully guaranteed 2-year deal gifted to him, it was wise to move here. To move the rock on offense, here's Joe Mixon. A lot of wear and tear on the tires, but he can still do a job. Considering they not only acquired him from Cincinnati, but extended him sight unseen, they better be hoping their intuition is correct. It's an interesting offseason for an interesting team. Stroud keeps developing. Like Tommy Townsend punting the football, the sky's the limit. Indianapolis, like Houston, overachieved last season, but it shows they're close to the prize. they can have a few things break their way. And if they don't suddenly pull a Jacksonville, the Colts could make their way back to the playoffs. Their offseason's been relatively quiet, but some moves have been made. Welcome back Michael Pittman Jr. and his abilities on a handsome 3-year extension. Enjoy the steady hand of Joe Flacco as your backup quarterback. Solid returning prizes for the defense in Kenny Moore, Grover Stewart, Tyquan Lewis, and Zaire Franklin. There isn't much in terms of new talent coming in, unfortunately. Only Flacco and Raekwon Davis are ones truly of note. But the Colts have always been a team that's tried to develop from within. It's rewarded them in the past, and it will have to be hoped that it happens again. Mainly with AR5. They won't discuss what happened with L'Jarius Sneed. That name will have Colts fans crying themselves to sleep. This organization is good for taking interesting situations and running them into the ground. Look at what happened with last year's collapse. I figured it would finally free them from Trent Baalke, but he's still here doing things. I think. Some of them were good. Mitch Morse is their new starting center. Darnell Savage for their secondary. Gabriel Davis to replace Calvin Ridley as a wideout. Will Lutz as their new kicker. Joey Sly as their new kicker. Most importantly, Eric Armstead to create a 1-2 punch with Josh Allen. Allen's the reason why they made the tough cuts that they had to make. He's on the franchise tag, but extending him to a long-term deal is their greatest objective this offseason. And there will be no exceptions if they can't get it done. Duval is restless. Throw them a bone. And I don't mean Mac Jones. Transitions are a painful thing. To say goodbye to those you love is inevitable, but nevertheless brutal. King Henry rides off to pastures unknown to fight battles in his own mind, Don Quixote style. Some say that land he goes to is Baltimore. A somber farewell to one of the greatest runners of his generation. It won't sting too hard. You're getting Tony Pollard to replace him as part of a tandem with Tyjae Spears. You're also getting Calvin Ridley to aid in the receiving game. Getting paid wide receiver 1 money in a bidding war, but that's the price you pay to poach from a rival. That messy offensive line will be getting an immediate upgrade in Lloyd Cushenberry at center as well. But the main prize is in defense. On top of several pieces added to shore up holes in depth, your stadium will now be known as L'Jarius Sneed Speed and Seed. There's a town named Sneedville in Tennessee. It's perfect. Why did one of the best corners last year come for such a cheap price? $55 million guaranteed will do it. And this is on top of adding Chidobe Awuzie. That defense should be pretty solid at minimum. As for offense, depends on how much mayo they're putting in the coffee. Or worst case scenario, Mason Rudolph. I'm so happy for that dude. He revived his stock in the best way. Don't let this offseason fool you. In Denver, the ride never ends. It just converts from a steel death trap to a rickety old wooden coaster that collapses on itself. The Broncos, after years of trying to patch up a leaky ship with Flex Seal and duct tape, are finally accepting reality. They need to undergo an authentic rebuild. One of the greatest disasters in the NFL's history has come to an end. Chef Russ's restaurant is being shut down, forced to pay a hefty dead cap lawsuit after several kids died from food poisoning. That big extension he signed about 20 months ago? He didn't even make it to the start of it. That start will also cost Denver a good chunk of their veteran hands and disappointing underachievers at wideout. Pointing right at Jerry Jeudy there. Cortland Sutton might be next. Denver made a couple of signings, mainly Brandon Jones from Miami to replace Justin Simmons. But when Jarrett Stidham is your starting quarterback, you know what the plan is. Embrace the suck. It's honestly for the best, Broncos country. Let's ride. Back-to-back champions. For how suspect they looked on offense for a chunk of the season, that was definitely not in my cards. Now they're gunning for a three-peat. It's obvious that the Chiefs have a huge hole at wideout. Most of the players departing at that position weren't exactly key contributors on that front. Despite being stuck with Kadarius Toney, there's only one destination that this franchise wants to go. Hollywood. Marquise Brown, despite frustrations of his own, is an instant upgrade and potential impact player. A foil to an aging Kelsey and young Rashee Rice on a 1-year prove-it deal. His acquisition is solid, but the real questions were on defense. Mainly Chris Jones. Losing him would be devastating, and they can't afford to let him go. That's why he got paid a massive haul by KC, more than likely keeping him here for his athletic life. A fantastic story, but it's not all good news though. The cap crunch and impending extensions to key players did cost them a legend in L'Jarius Sneed. The team will now be renamed Chucks. Here is your freshly exonerated punt god to Sky Footballs to the opposition. may his redemption arc take flight. The Raiders are entering a new era, one where they will no longer be foolishly skinning the Patriots alive as it blows up in their face. This is a team of snarl and tenacity. They will match their opponents with a relentless work ethic and resolve. And the way to truly emphasize this is with a monster in the interior defensive line. Conveniently enough, Christian Wilkins is a free agent available to the highest bidder. Good news for Las Vegas, they ponied up a hell of a lot of moolah for his services. If all goes well, this should have a lasting impact on their defense. May he not flame out like Chandler Jones did. Or even Hunter Renfrow or Jimmy Jesus. Didn't think Jimmy would fall apart like that, but the whole McSnake Oil dynasty was cursed. To cleanse them of this bitter palate, Gardner Minshew's here to compete for the starting job against AOC. What a very inspiring QB battle. Minshew's mean magic's not too bad, but is this really a quality offense without Josh Jacobs? The Chargers are what happens when Chinese water torture is amalgamated into a football franchise. Slow, agonizing torture that only makes you desire for the sweet release of death. Past follies and poor decisions from the Telesco regime have forced a shedding of older veterans and fan favorites. The cost of cap compliance is steep. Keenan Allen traded to Chicago for a pittance. Mike Williams released instead of hope he can recover from injury. Austin Eckler left to wander the abyss. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack restructured to keep them in the fold. Justin Herbert is now that gift from Fresh Prince. Looking around an empty room wondering where the hell everyone is. Question marks in the unsure hands of Quentin Johnston are all he has. You know what that means? All aboard the Gus Bus! His power running style will surely be an asset to a Harbaugh team. Same as Will Dissly is the new tight end of the franchise. Bradley Bozeman in to replace Corey Linsley's good too, I guess. Unfortunately, the Chargers are forced to retool on the fly, especially after the disaster that was last season. Only good news for them is that there's nowhere to go but up. I think.
And let's bring in Patrick Mahomes.